Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey there, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle, back with you again. It is about 9:42 here on a Tuesday evening. Thought I'd give you a weather update because I'm already hearing a lot of talk about what's going to happen for the end of the week. So we might as well discuss it now, right? At least give you the real data, the real science, and none of the nonsense that goes along with it sometimes. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather. I'm going to post a link on Facebook. If you're having trouble getting notified when I go live, at least on time, in other words, Facebook notifies you late, or maybe not at all, you can click this link and I will send you direct notification through your Facebook Messenger the next time I go live. You just have to, what you have to do on your end though is occasionally manage messages, which means you opt back in again. So when you get that message, just hit that button. That way you keep renewing and you'll keep getting a direct notification from me. Okay, so let's see. You guys on YouTube are checking in. I see you there. You're good. All right, good to see you. Everybody's in the house. Guys on Twitter, good to see you there as well. So let's get on down to business. Also Rumble. See you guys on Rumble, so thanks for checking in there. So let's talk about it. It's pretty mild out there. We've got 60 degrees in my backyard. We're going to start to warm things up. It was a really nice day today. We've actually got some starlight out there. You can probably see a few of those on the screen. But we're going to start to get the moisture back in here, and then it's going to change over into a little bit of that thunderstorm activity. So let's talk about that because we desperately need the rain. Here's a look at that drought map for Oklahoma. The western half of Oklahoma is hurting badly already, and central Oklahoma is going to start hurting next if we don't start getting a lot more rain in here. I know we did get some, over the weekend, but we're going to need a lot more than just that. The upper of the atmosphere, the jet stream pattern does show our little disturbance right here coming off of California and all the inclement lift and the moisture along with it heading to the east. So that'll be our little trigger for some showers and some thunderstorms. We head into Wednesday, Thursday, and then another system on Friday. So that's some good news there. At least getting some rain back in the state. If we do look at the Storm Prediction Center outlooks, we have a marginal risk of severe weather, which is the lowest it can get, by the way, out here across far western Oklahoma, Panhandle, on into New Mexico. And that moves east a little bit on Tuesday. Excuse me, that is not Tuesday. What day? Today's Tuesday, dude. That's Wednesday. Or excuse me. Lee. That is Thursday. No, that is Wednesday. That's Wednesday. Okay, Aaron, come on. You can get with it. This is Wednesday. That's Thursday. And that's Friday. So the yellow's on Friday. So that little risk keeps shoving to the east each time. So we're going to talk about that as well and see what kind of impact we have here. We zoom into that map for you. It's very low on the tornado end, quarter-size hail, basically very marginal out here in the Panhandle, far western, northwestern Oklahoma late Wednesday. It's not a big deal. Thursday also, same kind of deal. It'll be in the late Wednesday nights into early morning time frame for our first little round. And the secondary round actually probably won't even happen here. This is probably going to happen here. So I'll show you here that in a second. So that'll have to be adjusted on the newest data. And then as we head into Friday, that little round, or everything I guess potentially with it, would move out of western Oklahoma and move back into kind of central Oklahoma again. But we shall see, right? We'll take a look at the data and find out what it says. Also, eastern, northeastern Oklahoma, your rain probability goes up with a few storm chances. We head into early Thursday morning, very low severe weather threat. And then again on late Friday, depending on anything happens across central Oklahoma, which, just to let you know, there's going to be a very big cap in place. So big, it may not even break, and it probably won't. We'll take a look. Here's a look at the severe weather risk. If we look at the analog data, in other words, we combine a similar weather pattern in history and look at all the analogs to see if it ever produced any weather at all. This does not mean it's going to by the way, come out the same way. I kind of alluded to that in a post I made on Facebook and Twitter earlier this evening for other reasons, but this kind of taps into that. So this is a look at the all severe modes. If we just look at the tornado aspect of it, the analogs do suggest that, yeah, and given a storm in this environment, we could probably get a low probability of a tornado. That's about as far as you can take this science, unfortunately. It's not any better than that. But at least it's something to look at as we get closer to that event. Here's a look at maximum temperatures as we head into our Wednesday. So it's going to be another nice day. Lots of 70s out there across the state. Now, if that's not warm enough for you, how about those 90s out here in western Oklahoma? Those will be returning on Thursday to far western Oklahoma. And then as we head into Friday, more of those 90s creeping in out across the western third of the state. We're probably close to the at least mid to upper 80s here in central Oklahoma, and then upper 70s to low 80s out across eastern Oklahoma. Now on Saturday, and actually we'll be, let's do this for Saturday. Is this one Saturday? Yeah, Saturday afternoon, just to let you know, the weekend, looking great temperature-wise. So the weather should be really nice as that front kind of clears things out Friday night. So we're looking good on Saturday if you have any outdoor plans you want to do. Now the wind's unfortunately going to kick up. That's tonight, not a big deal. But as we head into tomorrow afternoon, look at these winds out of the south, especially across the northwestern half of Oklahoma. All these winds right here, gusting up to 30, possibly even 40 miles per hour from the south. So, the winds are back. See, people keep asking me, so when's the wind going to calm down? I always joke and say July. It's not much of a joke. It's pretty serious. We are actually a very windy state in general. So if you've moved here, you're new here, it gets windy. All right, so look at storms here. We're going to talk about the ones coming out of the Panhandle into Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas as we head into late tomorrow evening. Those will transverse the state overnight Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, kind of moving through parts of central Oklahoma. So really the line in the sand is the I-40 corridor. So this little scattered batch of light stuff will move from west to east overnight into Thursday morning. So you're going to pick up a quick round, a little bit of rain. We'll see how much rain comes out of the model data. It's not a whole lot. Don't get too excited. But needless to say, that quickly moves off Thursday morning. Another round comes in here. And that's what I was talking about for Thursday afternoon for severe weather out across the eastern Texas Panhandle. And then far western Oklahoma, it falls apart. So it's not really much to write home about for us there either. And then we kind of set the stage for Friday morning. And the question is, what happens Friday afternoon? So rainfall amounts, by the way, if you got any studies that are a little heavier downpours, you might pick up an inch of rain late Wednesday night and Thursday morning as this little batch moves through. The models will differ on the placement, etc. Let's see if the new NAM came in for Oklahoma City area. So this little thing, it moves a little bit more to the south, same kind of idea. And there's going to be some pockets in here. You might get a little brief heavier rain. Otherwise, there's a lot of just light stuff, sprinkles to a couple of tenths. So your rainfall amounts are going to vary with that little system. Temperature-wise, over the next couple of days, it's kind of holding into the 80s here for a while. Even extended Sunday, Monday. I mean, the great weather is going to continue as far as our temperatures are concerned. Remember, our overnight lows, we're done with that really cold stuff. So thank goodness we're over that. And then we're actually getting to about where we should be. So seasonally, it looks pretty good. So I hope that's something that, floats your boat. So that's the quick and dirty forecast for you. Those of you folks that need to get, you may proceed about the cabin. The rest of you, if you want to know about Friday afternoon, which is where all the big hubbub is already, there's a ton of hype already. I've already seen a reference to May 3rd. And it just grates my skin when any weather person says, oh, it looks just like May 3rd. Nothing will ever look like May 3rd. May 3rd is its own deal. It's in the books. It's history. It's done. Put it to bed. Every other event stands on its own as its own event. So to try to compare that, it's nauseating because all it does is just get on your fears and on your PTSD and all your traumatic experiences. And it's so over. I'm so over it. It's just sickening. So whatever. No two events are ever alike. No two setups are ever alike. And if we get severe weather, we get severe weather. If we don't, we don't. And if whatever happens that day, it'll be that day. And then some idiot will try to compare that day to another event, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or whatever. I'm just over it. So that's my little rant, my little soapbox for tonight. Decided to make a post about it. All right. I feel better now. I'll let it out. Deep breath. All right, let's move on, shall we? Okay, so if you're going to hang around, let's get on to the science, right? You want to find out what's going to happen and why? Let's do it. Okay, so first things first. This will be quick too, about 5 more minutes. So our little storm system we're worried about for the latter part of the week is going to be this guy right here. So this comes in on Friday, late afternoon. So it's a pretty good position with the jet. The lift is over the state, again, mainly over the central and eastern parts. So That means western Oklahoma is really not included in this unless this thing slows down a little bit. But then once that moves through Friday night into Saturday, we get this little wraparound up here to the northwest, which really helps to drive in some colder air. That's why we have some pretty decent temperatures on Saturday. The little storm system here for Thursday, we do have the lift on the dry line out here in the Panhandle, but other than the lift, cap is still pretty strong, but you'll still probably get a couple of storms out there. It's, for whatever reason, it's not too hard to get storms in the Panhandle than it is the body of Oklahoma. It's just the way it's always been. All right, so let's focus on Friday. Now, the new data has been coming in here for today for Friday. So let's see what it does here during that time frame. And this is about the best we can get this far out. So remember, I don't like to talk about tornadoes until we're about 48 hours out. And we're just now starting to get into the window where we even get some of the better data that comes in. And it's not the best, it's just better. So let's take a look here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to pick Canadian County. So basically what we had on the map, by the way, is a dry line focus out here with a good hard boundary from the west and from the east as far as the moist air and the dry air. So it's a very good separation line. We haven't had many of those this year. This will be the first one we had decent separation. Convergence along the boundary, not really there. This is pretty much rods right along the boundary from south to north, so we don't have a good convergence zone. So that means if there's a strong cap, the odds of it breaking are pretty low. So let's take a look here. Dew point is 66 here in Canadian County. So the shear actually looks pretty decent. It's a little weak at the upper levels. Let's see here. This data just came in, so I haven't looked at it yet. So LCLs are still pretty high, the cloud bases, which means that's a negative factor of getting a tornado. Anytime these LCLs are above 1 kilometer, it just gets really hard to get that to happen. Convective temperature is 88 degrees. The 4 o'clock temperature forecast is 82. That's a problem. It means you can never bust that cap if that's the case. Hail, if a storm were to develop in the environment, we're looking at 2 3/4 inch, so basically up to baseball size hail. All right, so now let's go. By the way, let me just look at Oklahoma County, which is 1 county over, a little farther removed from the dry line, just to see. So it's got us even colder. It's got a 73, convective temperature of 92. Well, that's obviously not going to happen. The cap is through the roof. All right, so LCLs are a little lower, which means there's more moisture here, but the cap is too great. All right, let's go to 7 o'clock. So the winds don't really converge that much better than what they had already done, so pretty weak convergence. Again, I'll just pick a spot here for Canadian County. LCLs came down just a hair. Convective temperature was still right around 90 with a huge cap, so the model basically says we should stay capped. It should not see any storms. If we do, though, the shear is decent enough to produce tornadic activity and obviously some large hail. So it's one of those conditional deals again. Shear looks pretty good, wind speed and wind direction. So it's just a deal. We have another potential day for severe weather. As of right now, the model data pretty much indicates the cap should hold and the storms won't develop. But if they do, they're in an environment where a couple of those would be severe. You've got the situation where you do expect the damaging wind, large hail, and probably a couple of tornadoes. So that's how that shapes up for Friday early evening and very late afternoon. But if you read my blog from Sunday, that's not news to you. We talked about the severe weather could be coming back on that day along with Thursday. So speaking of Thursday, the models do kind of focus a lot of instability out in the Panhandle for Thursday afternoon and evenings. That's where most of that activity should reside. And then on Friday, let's see here. Oh, this one doesn't go out far enough. Let me go to this one for the Cape and the shear. All right, so there's 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So what you notice here is a very thin ribbon of instability. So, ironically, it's a very similar look to what we had Saturday night as far as very, very thin, just 2 to 3 counties wide of instability, which means any storm that fires along the dry line, okay, is just basically a hail maker at first. It has to get into the better rooted atmosphere of better low-level moisture, which would place it through the Metro I-35 corridor, back down to, say, Chickasha and maybe to Lawton. And then, which is probably when they'll peak, in the 6, 7 o'clock window, maybe 8 o'clock. And then as they get over here, they start to run into less and less instability because temperatures didn't warm up as much, etc. Cap is stronger, starts to build back in, and they die out. So there's kind of a lookout, which is honestly very similar to what happened on Saturday as far as our potential is concerned. Okay, we look at some of the data. Let's see if this guy's got it. So we look at the significant tornado parameter. In other words, the best ingredients for seeing a tornado. And let's go to. All right, so there's Friday afternoon. You see what I'm saying? Very narrow corridor. This isn't going to pan out. Just normally they would have, the rest of the atmosphere would just be like this as far as significant tornado, and we have just this teeny tiny bit along the best forcing near the dry line. To me that screams trouble as far as getting anything to go and having anything significant that day. And this is in the look at the early stages of the data, but right now that's what it suggests. So if I was doing a forecast, I'd be like, you know what? Very conditional. Cap should hold. If a storm, a couple storms break, they'll probably be severe for a little bit, and then they weaken pretty fast. So that would be the one I would have for you. Of course, since it would be close to the metro, you'd have to watch it. And this is, of course, assuming the dry line makes its way this far east, which I will tell you this, drought breeds drought, and we've got that going on. And that tends to help to force the dry line farther to the east than it normally is. It normally fires out in western Oklahoma, but it'll fire more in central parts of the state with that drought condition going on. All right, let me see. Let's see. Anything... We can see if the NAM fires any storms at that point. I don't think it will, but let's take a look. All right, so here is the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock hour, and it's got no storm, so it thinks the cap holds. And then as the front probably comes in, it gets a little push from the dry line, or some storms in Kansas, either that or storms in Kansas go because of a weaker cap, then they kind of drift into northern Oklahoma around midnight, and then that kind of fires on down southeast a little bit, but that tells me it's struggling for a cap strength too. Just for fun, I'll click a forecast sounding there. What does it do? Cap is still pretty. It's around the borderline, so it can be broken if it has significant lifting with it. But otherwise, models are struggling to produce some good rain with that. Speaking of rain, man, we need some good rain. Are we gonna get anything? I may have to go to a global model for this, and I probably will here because I desperately like to see some rain. So let's do that. Let's go to the 18Z run of the European. All right, so the European, even on Friday, I don't think it produces much in the way of rain either, but there's most of the rain in the northeastern corner of the state through Saturday. Ugh, man, I wish I had better news for you guys. I really do. Let's see what it does with storms. And this is not a convective mesoscale model. It's a global model. It does very well in general terms of forecasting, but usually for severe weather you don't use it. Just curious to see what it does. Let's see here. So for Friday afternoon, it definitely tries to bubble up some storms up here in far northeastern Oklahoma. It tries to get them going down here, down 44 toward Lawton. Problem is doing it in some very dry, hot air, 87 over 62, with the very high LCLs, which means they're moisture starved when the cloud bases are that high. Storms really can't get rooted, can't go. And so they usually have this look to them, and then they disappear the next frame over because they really couldn't get going. It looks like the ones in Tulsa, or northwest of Tulsa, see what they do. Struggling a little bit too. Convective temperature of 89. Yeah, they can't get rooted in that either. Cap holds. So there you go. Even this model says the cap holds, and we don't get much action here for Friday, and the front comes through on Friday night and Saturday morning. And so Saturday morning looks pretty good, like I talked about, a northwest wind, and temperatures falling into the 70s, 60s and 70s for the early morning to then early afternoon. We rebound probably upper 70s, many areas to near 80, but otherwise a pretty decent day. So, okay, I think that was everything I wanted to show you, at least right now there is to talk about. There's really nothing more. Anything at this point anyway is a lot of, in the data, there's not much to infer other than what I kind of told you, so anything more is just wish casting or hope casting, hype casting, drama casting, whatever you want to call it. So there you go. But yeah, there's probably going to be a risk of severe weather for Saturday here across central Oklahoma. And again, right now, the way things are going, Tulsa, it would fall apart long before anything significant got to you, just like it did on Saturday night. So right now, that's the way it looks. If that changes, obviously, I'm going to let you know. We'll do some lives this week, kind of keep you posted on that, and see if the dry line backs up to the west some, or if it goes a little bit further to the east. Everything fires east of 35. We've had that happen before. So, but when they're this far out, this early in the game, you don't want to try to get too specific because too many things can change. So there you go. And it's interesting is this year, this is not the first setup like this. This is many, but a lot of these are conditional setups. Conditional means it's not a guarantee. Odds are it probably won't even happen. But if it happens, in other words, and this is all usually relative to the cap strength, if we can get just hot enough and just the right amount of moisture in here to break the cap, then we can get a couple storms to go. And then given the environmental setup, usually those storms are severe. So that's what we've seen really so far a lot over this past month. And that's unusual. Normally we have a lot of gimmies, a lot of easy ones. And these haven't been easier gimmies. This one seems to be no different coming up for Friday. And then the very narrow band of instability concerns me because if it's too narrow, it's usually a bad sign. There's just not enough ingredients anywhere else. Which I meant to look at something, so let me do that real quick. Can I do that? Yeah, hold on a second here. Let's go back. All right. Sorry, this isn't available. There we go. All right. So here's Friday cloud cover. There's in the morning. There's lunchtime. There's afternoon. And then there's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So what does this tell you? So this is a problem, just so you know. This is a limiting factor for severe weather. We get socked in the clouds the whole day. You don't get the heating. And if you don't get the heating, that means a lot of time the air over here is in the 70s. Well, 70s is detrimental really for storms once you get later in the evening when they need still instability to feed into them. And they run into these low 70s, and it is not enough. And then, of course, out here with the drought, you end up in here with the 90s. And then somewhere in here is a very narrow corridor of 80s, a sweet spot, right? Problem is, once these storms leave the sweet spot, then they're battling the problem with the more stable air. So anyway, a lot of times it's cloudy like this, you can't break the cap anyway. So we'll see what happens. I'm not overly excited right now. Matter of fact, I'm underly excited. I would lean toward nothing happening. So I'm going to have to see something better to change my mind. So maybe tomorrow I'll see something better, but it won't be tonight. So that's it for me. Well, let me see. Downtown Oklahoma City, worth canceling plans. It is outdoors between 6 and 9 candy. So obviously what you guys want to do, really any time of the year with Oklahoma weather, but definitely this time of the year, you have to have a backup plan. Always have an alternate ready because, we do have our days of storms that can mess things up. So that's kind of what I would do for you. And then if it's something really important to you, I would hold off until the very last minute to where you have to make that decision to cancel, right? In other words, put the cancellation period off as far as you can and wait. And sometimes in the end, you're still not going to know whether or not an event is still 100% guaranteed. So if it's a conditional event where it could be a couple storms pop, you may be hearing me Thursday night broadcast here in 2 nights from now. Stay Thursday. And I go, yeah, looks like the cap's going to hold. There's a little weak spot here. Best odds of it breaking are here. It's not great. If one storm breaks, there'll be a couple storms. And that may be the best I can give you. And if it is, unfortunately, it's what you have to work with. But that's what you got so far. Mike Lee, what is it? Cold air funnel. So cold air funnel, a lot of times is mentioned when you have an upper level low that moves overhead. So in other words, we have maybe storms, a lot of storms, maybe one day, and they've all moved out, but the upper level storm system comes right over on top of you. Well, there's a lot of spinning in the cloud base from that upper level low, and there's still some residual instability with that low. So you can still get these little elevated, like sometimes hail makers. They'll produce some hail with them, and they'll have little funnels with them, what we call cold air funnels, that they usually never touch down. So they're kind of ominous, obviously, because you see a funnel and you're freaking out. You think, oh, tornado's going to happen, and then that won't happen. They very rarely ever touch. Even if they did, it would be like a glorified dust devil, land spout, something very, very weak. It wouldn't be anything. It'd be probably equivalent of less than an EF0 type tornado, so it'd be very, very weak. But anyway, it's a good question. I don't foresee those coming up anytime soon. So you can sometimes get those in the. Well, I mean, I guess you could get them anytime, but yeah, usually this time of the year is when we get our big system, those upper lows. So probably through about June. That's about it. July, maybe at the latest. So there you go. All right, listen, I'm gonna get out of here. Got some things I got to do, but I just want to give you guys an update here real quick, because I know there's already been a lot of talk, because I'm hearing from you. That's how I know when something's going on, because you guys will start sending me messages. Every one of you gotta walk you off the ledge. Don't jump. Anyway, all right, you guys, be good tonight, and we will check in with you again tomorrow. Sleep well. Again, thanks for watching and your support. See you later.